Welcome to episode 20. Fulk, can you believe it? 20 episodes. And this one is season two. And in the focus of season two, we are looking at influence operations, influence campaigns, marketing campaigns, propaganda, all of these things that we describe online where people try to attack our brains or influence our brains. And so far, this season has been really good. We've talked about AI a lot, especially the ways people are using AI to influence online in particular. And today we're going to pivot, though. Today we're going a different direction. We're going back to our roots, I call it, back to our roots. Because over the weekend, we saw something happen on X Twitter. I'm not sure. I like to call it Xitter, shitter, but we're going to stick with X for this one. We're on YouTube. I don't want them to ban me. So something happened over the weekend where a new feature was added. And in this new feature, they added country of origin. And when they did that, a lot of interested people on Twitter took screenshots, shared them, where they found that prominent MAGA accounts, MAGA being a political movement in the USA, were not from the USA. They were all over the world in places that would not normally be interested in MAGA. Plus, the pictures did not really match up. How they dressed up their profile section didn't match up with the country of origin in a lot of cases. So I was scratching my head because, what do you know? Head scratcher. But not really. We've known about this whole thing since 2016, at least. Um, and the interesting part of this to me is twofold. There's this exposure that happened on Twitter, X, and people caught it. They shared information across all kinds of social platforms about it. Became news story after news story after news story if you're paying attention to social media feeds. And it was one of those things where people maybe forgot. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly, but we all knew this. The research communities that were interested in disinformation and online social, science, we screamed at the top of our lungs for a long time. Hey, what you see online is not real. It's manipulated. People are attacking it. Don't trust anything you read. At least that's what I used to say. Don't trust. Don't trust it. If you're interfacing with an account that's dressed itself up as some fringe political movement or conspiracy, just walk away. Go bowling. Take a walk with your dog. Go swimming. Go skiing. Get out of the house. Something. Turn it off. Turn it off. Play Scrabble, play solitaire, buy a deck of cards, something. PlayStation, Nintendo, it doesn't matter. Put away the nonsense. So nobody listened. Everybody knew it all. They stayed on Twitter. They stayed on X, whatever you call it. Journalists have been on X the whole time. High profile celebrities, they stayed there. They did not see season one, episode one of Folk It, where I said your brain is a jungle. If you're consuming information, it's wearing paths in your brain and you are being influenced. You become your friends. You think like people that you associate with. All the words that come into your brain matter. Protect your brain. They did not listen. They stayed in the cesspool toxic waste dump that is X. But luckily, that got exposed. So now maybe some people are thinking, oh, gee, golly gee whiz, maybe I shouldn't stay on X just so I can see my favorite TV star. No, that's a bad idea. Bad idea. It's not a good place. But let's take a step back. I'm already into rant mode. But there's two main pieces I want to talk about, and I don't want to take a lot of time. Sun's kind of hot, but I want to hit a couple of points today. One is the background of how these things happen, just as a refresher. I know we already know it. I'm not insulting anybody's intelligence here. Trust me, I know you knew this already. So I'm going to just refresher for those who might benefit from tiny little refresher here. You knew it all along, though. And then two, talk about what they actually did with geolocation and why it's hard and how it's not as easy as it sounds and the different approaches you can take because sharing knowledge is powerful. It helps people. If I share with you this information, you can verify it. Please do. And you can protect your brain a little better because you will now have some additional information about what you're encountering online. And honestly, I think every social media platform should mandate glasses. They should mandate this particular feature, country of origin. It seems really easy. It gave people a lot of information and was helpful. So I don't know why we couldn't pass a simple law. I mean, that's sort of what we do, right? Like we all pass laws to protect each other when there's a problem. May have something to do with all the money involved in buying off people so that we don't get those laws. I'm not naming the peoples because there's a lot of peoples that got bought off to keep this law off the books. But instead, let's just talk about it from the knowledge perspective. Protecting our brain. That's what Folkit is about. Protecting our brain. If you're on X though, think about getting off. It's a bad place. So, first thing, background. As I mentioned, these accounts, MAGA accounts, were exposed as being from all over the world. Nigeria, you know, parts of Europe, parts of Southeast Asia, everywhere it seemed but the USA in some cases. And you would expect MAGA being a extremist political movement, I say extremist, but it's on the fringe, right? Like there's fringes on both sides of politics. And MAGA's far over here on the fringe. They're so far that sometimes they wrap all the way around over here. So these accounts are out there with blue check marks. And social media is a game. It's a game to get likes, clicks, shares, followers. You win the game the more people see your stuff, your content. So there are rules of every game. Every social media is different. X has rules. You can follow people, they can follow you. You can post a comment, you can reply to somebody else's comment or post. You can share video, you can share text, you can participate in like these audio side channels they sometimes have. They're rules of the game. You can buy a blue check mark that says you're verified for $7 a month, I think it is, something like that. And that moves you up the ladder so that when people click on a post and if somebody with a blue check has replied, you'll see their content sooner. The algorithm that processes information and decides what to show you favors that blue check mark in some way. So that's what everything is online in social world. If you're trying to accumulate followers, you're playing a game and you might find out, for example, that posting MAGA content on X gets you a lot of attention. It gets you a lot of followers, a lot of likes, a lot of shares, and X pays you money. If you get a lot of likes and shares, they want people who are influencers to be on their platform so that they get more clicks, they sell more ads, they make more money, they get part of it back to the influencers who are doing this well. So there is an incentive for people overseas to pretend to be MAGA and set up fake accounts because they get paid. It's like a money-making opportunity. Now, the other possibility is, of course, that it's political, because if the MAGA is a political movement and it's on one side of the spectrum and on the other side, there's another set of accounts doing the same type of work, but on the other side of the spectrum, MAGA, it thrives on X, other stuff thrives on other social media. And so you play the game differently depending on where you're at. So in MAGA rules on X, you promote MAGA, you win. You get stuff. You get paid. You can also drive political sentiment if you're skilled at this, because it's very tribal and people on X who like MAGA kind of associate with one another see the MAGA content, they start to feel like it's popular, they won't join the MAGA team. This is the theory anyway, right? You're promoting your content at political. And this doesn't have to be a short game. You don't necessarily have to win the political game 1 month, 1 year, 10 years. It might take you 20 years. It was still worth playing because it's cheap to play. Accounts are free on X. Accounts are free on most social media. And an account is the currency. In order to put your either political content or just money making content online someplace, you need an account. Almost every social media account is the currency. It's the number one thing you need. So it makes sense to develop accounts, put them in a position to succeed, whatever your goal is. Like some people make accounts and their goal is just to read the news. They don't care if people follow them. But if your goal is to get followers and get your content published and prominently displayed on somebody else's feed, then you follow those rules that work with that social media platform. So in this case, X had people who are really good at this, professionals. Like those are professional looking accounts, paying the $7 a month, getting high profile views, publishing pro MAGA one side comments and stories, and opportunistically jumping on every event that would benefit their side of the political spectrum, getting more likes and shares and growing their audience. And what do I mean by growing audience? Well, on social media, on X in particular, there are too many posts. You can't read them all. Like, there's 400 or 500 million in a day. You can't read all those. Facebook, Instagram, they all suffer the same problem. When you log in and you go to look at your wall or your timeline or your feed, you can't read it all. Some algorithm selects what you see. If you own the site the way Elon Musk does, you own the algorithm. You can favor content in multiple ways because you own the algorithm. You can own the company as well and change the rules of the game, like that blue check mark, in a way that helps you get your message across. You own the media distribution channel. You own the algorithm that shows people what they want to see. You own the company so you can control the rules of that space, that game that other people are going to naturally play. So, of course, people play the game to make money. Of course, there are many accounts outside of the US who are playing the game with MAGA accounts just to make money. Of course. Also, of course, knowing that, oops, that was getting a little too riled up. So, of course, since 2016, we've known that the political side also plays the game. Money, politics, they go hand in hand. You accumulate political power, you accumulate money, and vice versa. So we know that this is played on Twitter. It's been a horrible place since the day one, in my opinion, because simple rules could have helped change this landscape. So it isn't so easy. It costs more money to do this, to run a campaign, a marketing ad propaganda campaign, a scam campaign on X. Make it cost a little bit more, make it a little harder, right? The people who are committing fraud, they go to the place where it's the cheapest so that they can make more money. You only have to raise the bar a little bit. It is what it is. Our problem now is protecting our brain focus style. And we're on some social media, almost definitely. Everybody listening to this, if anybody, you're on social media someplace and people are playing that game, creating accounts to get your attention for some reason, either politics or money. I think 404 Media did an article I saw about the money side of it. It was pretty good. Like it's what we expect. It's what we always expect. You can game social media. Episode 1, season 1, your brain is a jungle. Every person that you meet and talk to that you allow to talk to you and influence you with words and music and all these other kinds of video modalities, they are influencing your brain because they're walking paths in that jungle. Repetition works. Walking that path every day works. You become who your friends are. We tell our teenagers this all the time. Choose your friends carefully because you become them. You talk like them. You think like them. That's the same thing with X. Get off of it. Get off. But we won't. We won't because everybody thinks that it's different for them, that they understand it, they're fine, they're going to study it, they're going to research it. They're just there for the sports. They're just there for one small community. You're still affected. You're still affected. He owns the algorithm. He tells you what you see. There's no visibility, no auditing, no regulations, no rules, no standards anywhere. Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, X, Blue Sky, Reddit. I forgot Reddit. Same. I mean, Reddit's a little different. It's got a different set of rules, different players, different demographics. Still be careful. When you're there, it's a war zone. Social media is more war zone than it is game. It's like signing in to Call of Duty and you've never played before and people are just sniping you left and right. Like you don't make it 3 seconds. You're getting shot from every direction. If you are a babe in the woods, like every baby boomer I've ever met, logging into Facebook, you're done. You're hopeless. Get off of Facebook. Get off of Facebooks. Get off of X. Get off of like TikTok might be fine for baby boomers. Like Gen Z sort of has a soft spot for you guys. But 99% of everywhere you go, baby boomers, get off the internet. Shuffleboard. I'm telling you, shuffleboard because you're the ones that fall for these obviously fake accounts over and over and over again. So, what I mean by obviously fake, like, I didn't need a country of origin to know that these accounts were fake when I looked at them. It's obvious, man. They dress up the same almost everywhere you go. There will be some politically divisive rhetoric in an about section. Like, I'm pro Second Amendment. I love guns. I love God. I love Jesus. American flag waving. I support country music. Every cliche you can think of. I love my truck. All right. Okay. Not every MAGA person likes trucks. Some of them like Cadillacs. Okay. But in this space, it's dressed up and there's some patriotic music type of thing. Every post that they do or reshare is always on point. They don't talk about anything that isn't political. It's just every day, like they're showing up for a job to put in their political point time. And they are. And they are getting paid in a lot of cases to do it. That's what those accounts look like. So I mentioned a couple of things to look for. You can look for a fake profile image. You can look for oddly patriotic stuff. Bumper stickers, flags, eagles, lions, Punisher symbols, dudes in tattoos flexing like they're on steroids. These are all obvious giveaways, man. Obvious, right? And if you're a real person and you're doing this, stop. Stop. The world doesn't need this. 2, more things to look for. Almost every social media has people you can follow and people that follow you back. So if that ratio is close to 1, and an example of this, I saw an account on Blue Sky yesterday. It was a liberal account. It was a very pro-Democrat resistance movement account that had 64,000 followers and 64.2 thousand following. That 64 divided by 64.2 thousand is close to 1. Pretty close to 1, right? Just put them over another like a fraction. If it's close to 1, that's suspicious. Why? Because most people don't go out and follow 64,000. If you're just a regular person and you're trying to follow the news and some celebrities and maybe, some people that are colleagues, you're not going to follow 64,000. That would screw up your timeline so bad and take you forever. Like I did the math on it. It was like 20 accounts a day that they would have had to follow for like 2.5 years. So that's point 3. When was this account created? Get some information about the account. Not all places share this information. On Blue Sky, I think you have to go to something called Clear Sky. You can check it out. It'll show you a little bit more and it'll tell you when the account was created. With that info, you can then do things like how many posts do they do on day per average. If it seems like a lot, then it probably is a lot. There's probably somebody who's doing it as a job or some computer automation that makes it like every hour on the hour it's putting something out there. If it looks funny, it is funny. If the ratio is close to one, it's suspicious. If you've got a bunch of posts that are all political that are coming out and there's too many people they're following, it's funny. Don't give it the benefit of the doubt. Assume the worst. This is the internet, people. Assume the worst. All right. All right. So this is how you spot these suspicious accounts and you do not interact with them. You protect your brain. We are Folkit. This is why I picked the name. When you see one of these MAGA like accounts or blue dim resistant like accounts that are dressed up, they got hashtags all over the place. They got 10 emojis that are all like, blue waves and American flags and eagles. Fork it. Don't talk to it. Don't reply to it. Step away. Don't trust a thing it says. Don't let it rile you up. It's a job and they are good at it. It's a job. They are good at it. Leave it alone. You're not defending the free world. You're not defending democracy. Walk away. Go play like, what's that? Croquet out in the yard. Pick up a badminton. Play some frisbee. Get away from the internet, man. So, all right, let's step back. That's the problem since 2016, at least. It happened before that, but now we know they're online professional accounts dressed up to get the most emotional, divisive response they can. It happens on both sides. X is full of it for MAGA. It disproportionately always is MAGA, primarily, I think, because baby boomers fall for this garbage every time, and they're old, and the older conservative people are MAGA. I mean, that's what I think. That I got no numbers on that, so don't back me up. But that's what we're dealing with. Old people stuck in a loop. I'm old. I'm counting myself here. There's a ton of Gen X that do the same stupid nonsense. See them arguing all the time. My friends on Facebook, they're arguing. They're posting these memes and these lists about why they're true conservatives. And I'm like, this is garbage. I'm here for the cat pictures. Why are you posting this garbage? Just messing up my brain. You're messing up my brain. You have the nerve to mess up my brain. Get this garbage that's coming from Romania off of my feed, please. Please just pay attention to what I'm saying right now. Get this garbage off of everybody's feeds. Nobody cares if you're a true conservative. Nobody. Gen X, man. Nobody knows us anyway. Leave it alone. All right. So I can't change anybody. We tried. People tried. Researchers tried. Everything I just said has been proven a dozen times over with disinformation research. People got attacked because of it. They got put in front of Congress in front of it. It's ridiculous. And then now new administration is doing the same tactics that they said, they accused the other side of. Nonsense. So that was what was so interesting about X, because the new ownership, Elon Musk, he just outed everybody. Like we knew it all along, highly suspected, had seen it in data, but he gave us better data. He proved it. He's like, or he almost proved it. I don't want to go for, that's my next topic, right? I'm trying to transition into the next topic. But he basically was like, hey, look, everybody, don't forget all of these nonsense MAGA accounts aren't real. The journalists that follow and promote all this content, hey guys, pay attention because you've been sharing this stuff uncritically as if it was real, as if there's some movement out there. And there's no movement. It's just blue check marks paying $7 a month and people in Romania and bot farms in Nigeria working every day, punching a clock. Your movement is fake. It's artificial. It's influence campaigns being run online. So get off of the internet, journalists. I don't know if you're hearing me, but Absolutely get off of X. If you own media, you already know this though. So you already know this. You're paying your people to do what gets clicks to pay to sell ads. So this won't change either. So I'm just of course it's not going to change. Don't tell me in the comments this is oh well, look, it's not going to change. There's nothing you can do. I already know this. Know this, lived it, understand it. So that's why I'm sharing knowledge right now because I've lived it. I understand it. I understand it better than there are 10 people in the world, I think, that understand this better than me. Maybe, maybe 10. Two handfuls. So I'm going to share geospatial knowledge now. And the interesting part here, other than the background that we just talked about where it got exposed, right? Like everybody knew that background. Elon Musk exposed it. He proved it again that it was happening, like put a rubber stamp on it, reminded us all we should have never forgotten in the first place. And then this other part is, well, how did he prove it? Like, what do we know about accounts in the first place? Like, we know how they dress themselves up to look a certain way to get the most clicks and interactions with their group, their polls of whatever political group they're trying to appeal to, or political, whatever the group is. So let's think about location. And this is a little more technical. So if you're not interested in the location details, perfect time to exit. I did my rant. We all knew that all this other stuff anyway. There have been a bunch of people talking about it. I said it, and I think it's important. It's important to tell other people around you to get off of Facebook, that garbage website. It's garbage because of the AI slop. It's garbage because of the proliferation of bad information. It's garbage because they let accounts game them because they don't care. They're just selling ads. Twitter, same way. Same way. Like, why be there? Why be their sheep? I'm not nobody's sheep. I'm not gonna sit on their nonsense accounts, sheeping it up. Hey, but all those dudes out there with the steroid injections and the tattoos, Punisher symbols, by all means, bro, sheep it up. Get on there and sheep it up. So, geospatial. Now we're talking geospatial. And they said country of origin, which, that's like there's different levels of specificity. You can say I'm in a country, United States. You could say I'm on planet Earth. You can say I'm part of the Milky Way galaxy. You could say, oh, look, you're part of Florida. Um, I can tell you a county. I can tell you a street address. I can tell you a GPS coordinate that gives some specificity to 10 meters. All of these things, they're different specificity levels for my location. And my location changes. I travel, I drive places, I move occasionally, and I don't stay still. Now, everybody's like this. Everybody's location changes. So when you say somebody's location, there's a specificity for accuracy, like how low or close to me are you? And then there's a time. So I was at this place at this time. So that is the two conditions that we have. And what we saw with Elon Musk and X was they picked country level specificity. And it doesn't say exactly what the timestamp is. And that's something they had to make a decision on. The team behind the scenes rolling out this feature had to make a decision. How do we know? Because let's just use me as an example. Mike is currently in the USA, but like last year he was in Cuba. Last year he was in London in the UK. Last year he was in, Somalia. I wasn't in any of these places, I don't think, but just as an example, you could have picked any of those countries depending on your algorithm or your decision making process for what country I'm from. My guess is they picked the country that you signed up in. And by that, I mean when you created that account. Remember, your account is your currency. When you create that account, you're going to be in a place on a computer or an app. That app is going to then send information to Twitter. In this case, it was X or Twitter, whichever it was when you signed up. And that information is going to contain IP address. IP address is given by your internet service provider, usually your ISP, and it indicates like a mailing address, how to get to you online. It doesn't necessarily mean your physical location, but it means online, right? Like, hey, here's the other servers out there in the world, up in the sky, the cloud. They know that IP address comes to the pipe in my house. It doesn't know where my house is, but knows it goes to my pipe. There's another bit of information that comes with those packets, those data packets, and that's the MAC address of the router in my house. So MAC is like a hardware address. And the router is the thing that sends all of my data to the internet and back. So it is the address of the physical hardware device, and the IP address is the address of my ISP account where data is getting sent. Now, of course, the ISP, the internet service provider, Spectrum, Verizon, AT&T, whatever the case may be, they know my real address. So they could always go back and look up and say, this IP tags to this person, and with the warrant, that information is out there. They also know my MAC address. But as it is, if I send a piece of information to like Google servers, Google would know my MAC address because along the way, like the way the data flows is it hops from router to router along the internet superhighway, and each router has a table with MAC addresses, and it's trying to get the information from one place to the next. So it's got a whole routing protocol, and it can find me. So the first MAC address out of my house, my router, accurately can be stored my location. And by that, I mean, if you know the MAC address and you create a table that says, all right, I know I've seen this MAC address before and it came from this location, but this IP address, you can store that. You can say this ISP has this IP address. When it's associated with this MAC address, it looks like it's at this country or this state. And I won't go into the details of this, but this is one of the ways people do geolocation. They figure out what MAC addresses map to what locations for routers, because one router is in my house, but the next router out is at somebody's, data center down the street or, not too far from here. So these are two ways you can get that information. You can also require that people do things like, when you sign up, hey, call me back on a number, two-factor authentication. You have to have a real telephone number. That real telephone number is also, people can look up and store information about telephone numbers and where people are. So that's one way. You can require when they sign up, they select their country of origin, they give you an address, or they give you a credit card information. I don't think that X requires credit card information, but these are ways people can figure out your address, your physical location, and map it back to IP address or MAC address on a router. And then with two-factor authentication being used on a phone, they may text you, they may ask for a callback. And that these things actually make it a little more difficult and expensive to create an account. Because if you want to spoof where your location is, if you don't want X to know your real country of origin, you got to go through some work, right? Like you got to either get a VPN or travel to another place, open the account while you're gone. It's more work, it's more expensive. And that's sort of the bar with scammers and fraud, right? You want to bump them up, make them pay more. And if you make them pay more, they pick a different fraud scam. There's a million of them out there. Facebook makes 10% of its money on scams. So yeah, there's a million scams out there. All right. So geolocation, you can figure it out from IP address, MAC address on routers, phone information, um, well, for the callbacks when you do account creation, as well as like credit cards or any other type of address information you ask for when you create the account. Now, there's different levels of accuracy there. Like, if you're on a VPN, then you wouldn't get IP address type of location. If you're not on a VPN, you probably would and probably be pretty good because people have created these tables already with lookups of which ISPs and which localities have which IP addresses. And that, they're up to date a lot of times. It's not perfect, but you'd have a pretty good sense. The phone number as well, you can probably check with, you know, whoever's your phone provider, they're going to have that information. And there's one other way. And this way is your phone. So if you're on your phone has a GPS. Now, apps on your phone have access to that GPS coordinate, and that GPS coordinate is much more precise than the MAC address for the router, for example. But on Apple, I think, and on Android now, unless you sideload, you have to specifically allow location services for the app, like Twitter's app. You can go to your phone, create a Twitter phone account right from the phone on the app, and then it knows where you're from because it has access to your GPS coordinate as well as that other information we just shared, right? Like you still have, IP address, still creating a connection on the internet, and it's able to find you. So in the case where you do a phone with side-loaded app or location services turned on, it's pretty accurate. It knows your GPS coordinate. Now, phone GPS aren't perfect. I mean, it might be like 100 meters off or further in some cases, depending on the phone and the GPS and the signal. But it's in the ballpark. It's definitely in the country level ballpark for sure. Um, And additionally, even if you didn't do this, it's possible. Not saying this happens, but it would be possible because your phone does have a GPS. Even though Apple and Android devices are supposed to have specific permissions and guardrails set up, somebody could bypass that. Like TikTok, for example, could just refuse to acknowledge that it's using the GPS coordinate, get to it from a kind of a side method, like a hack, and then always know your location. Twitter could do it too. Facebook, they could all do it. And they're really good at this stuff. You think they're good with tracking you on ads and where you've been on the internet to like what you like to look at and what you might want to buy. They're really good at figuring out where you are. These things I'm talking about, they already exist. There's tons of research already on what I'm talking about in terms of finding your location. Plus the apps, some of them, let's use Waze, for example. Waze knows everywhere you're at, right? You're driving. You know how accurate Waze is. Waze puts you on the road. And if somebody else tells you there's like a pothole, it gets added to your app and you see where the pothole is. So you know how accurate this stuff is. Waze might sell your information. It might know your IP address, your phone hardware device ID, and it might send your location information, as part of a sale package to other companies. So there's already all of this information out there. The cell phone companies too will sell, and they call it anonymized, right? They say we're selling anonymous data. But if you are at your house 8 hours a night sleeping, mm, that's pretty easy to backtrack on and figure out, hey, this person lives at this house. It won't tell you if it's me, it might be somebody else living at this house, but they're really good at this. People who have to find your location through GPS coordinates on an app like Waze or Twitter, GPS coordinates from the cell phone tower, or triangulation data off of which cell phone tower you're currently logged into, just general knowledge about your IP address, where your MAC is, where routers are in the world, where each router is, what the route tables look like, how people move through spaces. This is already a solved problem for the most part. Now, de-anonymizing it is not a solved problem. Trying to like aggregate all these people together is not a solved problem, but they can find where you're at. And by they, I mean the social media company. Begs the question, why haven't they all along shared this information? Why don't they put country that they signed up in? Like that would be a specific thing. This account was signed up in this country. Now, if it's a VPN, Twitter was given a little special mark, VPN. Well, how do you know VPNs? Well, most of the major VPN providers now, they have an address range, IP address range. So if you're in this IP address range, you're using a VPN. So they can infer it's not perfect because you could set up your own VPN. You could be part of some small local kind of paranoid club, like the Folket Paranoia VPN or whatever. Yeah. So it's not perfect that they know you're on a VPN. It's not perfect that they know your country of origin because you could spend a lot of money to spoof these methods, but it's pretty good. Now, this is where I stop to think if you're doing analysis of this, if you're on Twitter and you see this happen and one account shows up as in Romania, one account is not, it's hard to make a judgment about one account. You can say, well, Twitter had all of that data Mike was just talking about. So it's probably right. I wouldn't say with 100% certainty it's right. If you find 10,000 accounts or 100,000 accounts, now you're talking. Now you're like, well, beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is a massive problem. If you find 100 counts, it's still a pretty big problem when these accounts are influencers who have blue checks who are getting a lot of traffic on your site. So that's how I think about it, right? One account, it's hard to make a judgment. I can accumulate all of this evidence, country of origin, follower counts, what their content of their messaging is, what they dress up their about section to say who they are is. Does it look like typical, stuff there? As well as how good are they at posting? Like, like are they posting 27 times a day on average with 100 people they follow a minute? You know, we can figure this out. Are they always on the hour, every hour posting? Is it always like 4 a.m. they post every day? Does it look suspicious in terms of timing? These are all things that you can look at, but you're still not quite sure at one account level. It's still pretty tough to say okay, for this individual account. The people with the best data, though, are Twitter. It would be nice if Twitter told us what rules they follow about picking country of origin. Is it the time of creation or is it something else? Is it the most recent post, the most recent 10 posts, like a month ago's posts? Where are they pulling the location information from? That would be nice. So it's not perfect, but it's good. They have the best data available to anybody. Like you and I can't go look at these fake accounts and say with any certainty, but we can say, step away. Fulkit, this looks like crap. I'm not dealing with this. I'm protecting my brain. So we're getting to the end now. I'm glad you stuck around if you stuck around because this is the important stuff. Social media is heavily manipulated. Some sites like Twitter have made it really easy to manipulate by their rules for accounts and their rules for visibility and their control of the algorithm and how it's maintained. Others make it more difficult. And all of these things are possible. Some of them allow monetization, some of them don't. If you can monetize, you invite more people who are not political into the mix. But even in the case where they are monetizing, they can also still be political. It can still be a way to influence elections or political campaigns. Geospatial information is not easy to get. The platforms have the best available, I would say, unless you're like, tapped into the internet, undersea cable, and you're picking up these routers yourself or something like that. The social media platforms have that best data available. They can infer it at one account level. Not, it's still good, but it's hard to say with any certainty. If you roll up a level and you're looking at 10, 100,000, 10,000, if you're looking at it from the big picture, you can see trends. This is a trend that was on Twitter that everybody should have known. Everybody should have known with those crappy rules that Twitter had, it was the perfect environment to create a cesspool. Cesspool. That's what they created. Do not wade into cesspools with your brain. Don't. Nothing is worth it. Nothing is worth it. It's a toxic waste dump. Why are you swimming in toxic waste? Right? Some of it's eventually gonna like get in your mouth and you're gonna die. Stop. Stop. Facebook's the same way. It's garbage. So anyway, nobody's gonna listen to me. I get it. Everybody thinks their brain is perfect. They already knew all of this. I'm just saying the obvious. They're adults, they can make a decision, or they're teenagers, they can make a decision by themselves, no problem. It's no big deal. And, interfacing and getting all riled up and angry at obviously fake accounts that are these troll farms is no big deal. But it is a big deal. It's our information environment. And it should be safer for us to live in. It should be safer for us to go swimming. I want clean information environment water to swim for me in the future. Um, so one last thing, and this is something I've seen a bunch of people talk about. So again, none of this is new. None of this is new. I'm talking about it to give it a little more airtime so people understand what we're talking about here. You can pay for a troll farm. We mentioned cost, right? Like it's cheap to get these accounts. It's cheap to play the game online. At almost every site now, it's even cheaper than it used to be. They got rid of all the trust and safeties. They had Congress go after, people that work in trust and safety, like attack dogs. Meanwhile, now current administration works directly with them. Social media platforms, I mean. So you can pay for bad actors. Just because an account is labeled in Nigeria, right? Like we saw on X, accounts labeled Nigeria. That doesn't mean the influence is coming from Nigeria because somebody from another country, let's say France, maybe France runs troll farms. They give the company that works in Nigeria that operates the troll farms information about how to create the accounts, how to dress them up, what content they want on there. I love France, by the way. Don't hold this against me. I picked France because I love you. And they pay the troll farm actors to push their content through those accounts, but it looks like it's coming out of Nigeria. So that geospatial information doesn't get to attribution. It gets to important important stuff. Like it important to know that this account that claims to be in the US running this, like political ideology and getting a lot of views and a lot of followers and a lot of interactions, outsizing its influence isn't from America. It's important to know that, right? But it doesn't tell you who paid for it because this game is run internationally now and it's global. It doesn't just happen in the US. I'm mentioning MAGA. Every democratic country in the world is fighting this right now. Still, like a lot of Americans blew it off and said, "We all know this, big deal. Put me on TikTok, baby." We're fighting it. We're fighting it all around the world. Every democratic country is getting attacked like this with paid trolls and inauthentic communities that are pushing divisive content, either for money or political persuasion and power. It sucks, but it is what it is. And I'm here to protect our brains. So, fuck it.